Any questions? Pretty much on schedule here with the Friday practice.
Have you seen any influence of Norv Turner in the Raiders yet?
Hard to say. It's hard to see that right away. I think. Look, I've known Norv a long time, and I think that influence already exists within the framework of his son, and so you got to defend what you're seeing of late, and because I'm sure there's certain things that, like, there's always some things. The other night I found myself looking for 6 plays from 2011, and then all of a sudden I found 8, and then I'm like, God, what's wrong with this play? I forgot all about this one. Like this, sometimes some of the things that you move on from are still effective today. But to your question, I can't say that. I think it's an offense that's obviously in flux with the change, and we got to defend it. I know there's 2 important numbers, 98 and 89. Put them either way you want to, 98 and 89.
Your thoughts on the Week 16 flex, and this is your second road game on a Thursday. Do you guys have to approve anything like that, or how does it work?
No. They discuss it. It's a road game anyway, right? So, I like the fact that we're having another opportunity. Listen, I remember this a long time ago. Boys, we'd rather be flexed in than flexed out. And so, look, it's a real good team playing real good, and it flexes Cincinnati out, who we play the following week. So there was a little but that, look, it is what it is, and it just tell us when we're playing. Go ahead.
You've talked before about the better you play, the bigger games you get to play in.
Yeah.
It's kind of one of the messages to the team, that you put yourself in a position to play in big games like that.
Yeah, but that's a big game, but we'll play him bigger.
Sean, it doesn't have anything to do with football.
Go ahead.
Did the F1 race there influence how you guys did your travel?
It influenced where we're staying, with the noise and everything. So we're, I think, a little bit further out where the Super Bowl team stayed. But that would be it.
Coach, you were talking about rookies and your thoughts on them. One word you always use is vision. Has there been anything with this class or even last year's class that's maybe exceeded the initial vision you had for them?
Oh, we're all optimists. Trying to think. Look, it's a fair question. I'm going to give you an example where we didn't have a correct vision. And we all have these, hopefully not a lot of them. 2006, we drafted Rob Ninkovich out of Purdue, I believe in the 5th round. He's a defensive end. I don't know that we were all on the same page defensively, scouts, coaches, head coach. And so what was the vision? And the feeling was, well, he's undersized to be an end in a 4-3 defense. And so ultimately, a year or two later, he goes to another team. We get him back, and I have him up my office talking about being a long snapper. Well, then he goes to New England and plays outside linebacker for however many years and wins Super Bowls. And so wrong vision, wrong fit, and we laugh about it. He was a fantastic player. So we really try to talk about how they fit, and maybe how they'll be used in year one. But I think when you go through that in detail, I think you have a greater chance. It puts everyone on the same page so that we're not just drafting players without talking about a vision. Has anyone exceeded it? I'm sure there's been a few, but some of that's hard to predict. You're just year one starter, special teams, blah, blah, that kind of thing.
Sean, Broncos country travels really well in general.
Say it again.
Tampa, your fans and stuff, but because the Raiders haven't really gotten a foothold with home fans, even though they're a big regional team, and your trip to LA is going to be a lot of Broncos fans. How big of an advantage is it to have?
The first time I was exposed to it, when I wasn't coaching, I was working with Fox. I was invited to a night game, and it was the Chargers versus the Broncos, in a real close game. Might have been an overtime game, in fact, 2022. And so I was with somebody in a suite, and that's the first time it hit me where I looked around and I felt like it was, 70-30 Broncos. And I saw the silent snap count right away from the home team. And so, look, we need them. I mean, we've got a great fan base, and when you're able to, you're going to have a few of these weeks where it's going to be extremely loud, and we prepare for every game on the road. But, man, it's fantastic with the way they travel.
You've spoken a lot about the Joker over the last couple of years. Does Marvin Mims Jr. have those Joker traits?
Well, we're trying to create something. We're trying to create something. We're trying to utilize some things that he does well, and I think we always got to be asking ourselves, all right. And so, look, you see him do certain things in the return game that lead you to believe he could do certain things in the running game, and then when he's on the field in the running game, obviously he can be. So when 0-1 comes in, in other words, one tight end, with 4 receivers, but there's just some stress there. There's a little ghost element. We threw the touchdown on the screen. It's just, I think we always got to be saying, hey, are we doing everything we can to highlight his strengths? And so, I don't know if he's got the Joker tattoo, but he might be invited to the club.
To that end,
Yeah.
this is just from people who know you in the league, who say they think, looking at Bo and how you're playing on offense, that you've tweaked more things this year, they think, than you have in other seasons.
Well,
Is that fair?
I would say, man, we tweaked a lot if you watched us with Taysom Hill. I mean, we were, and so it's always evolving. Teddy Bridgewater, we went 5-0 with him, and so look.
Not just the quarterback.
Yeah. I think, man, staying up to speed, and I would say that it's always moving and changing, and I think it's very similar to education. I mean that, like when I say teachers, how we taught in the 70s is entirely different than how we taught. Not necessarily the lesson itself or the topic itself, but the methods and then the presentations and then some of these plays. Like if you grabbed an old-time coach, he'd say, well, this is this, but with a new, he's in the gun now and they're running this. And so I think to some degree that's probably true. But I, like in all those years, whether it goes back to Kerry Collins or Quincy Carter or Breeze or Hill, or or you're recalibrating and they're different.
Coach, how important or valuable is it for your offense to have that Joker in it?
Well, it's nice to have. It's nice to have, whether it's the tight end or the running back. And you don't take it for granted. In other words, they're hard to find, and so, it's not like 4 Joker tight ends come out in the draft every year. Maybe 1, maybe 2. Detroit in one draft got a Joker runner and a Joker tight end, and now you have some versatility, and so I think, look, they're friendly to the quarterback because a lot of where they're operating, I think it's easier to take an X or some receiver out of a game maybe than it is some of those interior players.
Sean, you talk about the winning games with the consistency of your preparation during the week.
Yeah.
Has this been a consistently good team preparing, and is it evolving? Is it even?
Well, it's ongoing.
Yeah.
We're in progress. We just talked about the opponent, and it's really ourselves. You know, it's the opponent is ourselves, and the focus. Obviously, we play in a very competitive league. You know, Cleveland has a big win last night on Pitt. Each week, the opponents, ourselves, the distractions sometimes are those closest to us.
You mentioned number 98. How much extra time do you have to spend?
A lot.
Preparing
A lot.
Max Crosby. Yeah, go into that a little bit.
A lot. Well, protection plan. We slide in this way. We nudging. Is it an underlying call that we won't call if we're on the right hash? Maybe it's a left hash. Just a lot. That is. Then how come he's over here to the left? Well, he's over here to the left sometimes, and then, you know, that requires some calories.
Sean, do you see similarities just in their effort level with Zach Allen and Max Crosby? Same type.
Well, yeah, different positions, but you would say, man, and I use this way back with Cam Jordan. Play 60 looks like play 4. Their conditioning level, their man, and play in and play out. It's like it's an elite athlete who bends and plays the run and the pass equally well. And man, that's I mean, it's hard to do that for 70, 65 plays. So yeah, in that case, they're different positions, but they both have that staying power.
Sean, with the Thursday night flex, it's the first one. I mean, there's not that many firsts in NFL history, but it's the first time a game gets flexed on
Yep.
Thursday. Is it a long enough lead time where?
It's fine.
Yeah.
It's fine.
Do you
It's all
want
good.
a chance to do something first time in NFL history?
Well, we were the first to flex. We were the first team flexed on Sunday night. I think 06. I don't know who was scheduled. Saints Cowboys got flexed. I think that was the first time that ever happened. You know, it's all good. Just, you know, tell us when we're playing.
This is kind of
Devon was saying that he's learned a lot from watching Lil Jordan as a blocker. So, like, what kind of example is Lil Jordan setting in that area?
Well, one thing about LJ is he's extremely smart. He's really intelligent. He understands angles and leverage points. I think the first mistake sometimes receivers make in blocking on the perimeter is whether they're trying to kick out or kick in instead of two gap. You know, like we're not normally trying to dictate where the back should go, and so I think, you know, there's some entries relative to certain plays where you're. But if you can't block the force, and it can't be just LJ, it has to be Sutton. It has, you know, if you can't block the force, it becomes, you know, hard to run in this league. Or you get into the RPO game, and then pretty soon it's the PO game. You know, there's no R to it, and so when you want to run, how are you handling the force? This number 7 for them is a really good force player, physical, and so when you're in run situations, he's going to show up closer to the ball. And so I think that probably those situations didn't present themselves as much at Utah, maybe, if that makes any sense.